Okay, so we have to talk about the topic of mental health disorders in college students and why this is such a big thing nowadays and how much it changed over the years and how we can help solve these problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I think additionally to be able to kind of identify like what the hurdles are and be able to say like this is something that we have to overcome to reach this, I guess to reach a solution, but not only a solution, but also to, I'm forgetting the word, I don't know, to come to a consensus of how it can be used at other universities other than just Penn State.
Definitely.
So I think the main problem is how do we fix the problem of mental health issues in college students, which we can talk about many different things to go about solving that.
I think a lot of it also comes down to the students. The students aren't the ones to blame, but you can't get help unless you do it yourself and go do it. So I think students really need to take the time to look at themselves and their own lives and even help their friends out, and maybe we can start making a bigger change.
Definitely. With college students being legal adults, they can't be forced into doing anything they don't want to do, so it's up to us to make our own decisions and better ourselves.
Yeah. This is like, I just don't want to shut off. Yeah, and I think it's like really important to kind of have that advocacy for your friends as well, which you brought up. Where if you like know that someone's struggling, or if you know that there's something wrong, or even if you sense it, it's better to be safe than sorry, and like reach out to them and then at least make an effort to show that you do care, that you do want, then like kind of normalize it.
Right. Even that little gesture might even mean so much to them, because somebody could be crying for help and never get that attention they need.
And usually when people are suffering from whether it's depression, anxiety, or even high stress levels, things like not enjoying everyday life or not enjoying activities, not hanging out with your friends as much as usual, being sad and angry and negative, always talking about negative things, those are signs that people have to look out for, because some people don't realize it until it's not in front of them anymore.
Yeah. And
even the slightest things like changes in your sleep patterns or anything like that could definitely need you to look at yourself. You definitely should be observant.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard just because like we're all in college too, and so it's like you have to like it's really hard to, let's say you have like a roommate who has an issue, to pick up on that, just because like even though you live with them, usually if people are well aware that they're struggling, so if they don't want you to know, then they'll do a pretty good job of covering it up, but also you're not focused on their life. You're focused on your school. You're focused on what you're here for, like getting a job, working, going to class, like doing whatever you need to do, that you're not looking for it. So if you're not looking for it, it's harder to see.
Right.
And I think that's a big issue, and why part of the like rates of depression and anxiety and suicide are so high in college is because a lot of times it's overlooked.
Right. Absolutely. And people also aren't aware of what to look for, and it's not noticed enough, and that's why we have to help colleges like Penn State make people more aware of how severe these situations are and how many resources are available for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one thing that was kind of like wild to me when I was looking up and doing research was that the suicide rates in college have tripled since the 1950s, which I know a lot of it, like, I feel like it could partially be due to a lack of, not just awareness, but a lack of attention drawn to, like, there could have been suicides in college, just as many back then, that we didn't document. So it might be due to better documentation, but I also feel like it definitely has gone up since that time. And that's crazy.
Yeah, and I also saw when I was doing research online that the leading cause of death for college students in 2016 was suicide. And that was ages 15, not even college students only, ages 15 to 24. But now the second leading cause of death for only college students is suicide. It's crazy, and it needs to be noticed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, another thing too that's kind of going along that is, like, we look at these rates of suicide and they're really high, and it's like just astounding. But then there's also, like, according to the CDC, which is one of the websites I found, it was 8% of students have considered suicide.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
My research.
And, like, considering how many college students there are in, let me have to click on it. There you go. Considering how many college students there are in the United States, like, it's not just, like, we think Penn State's big, but if you consider all of the universities, 8% is a huge number. Like, it's way bigger than just, like 8% sounds small, but it actually is so big.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, maybe even colleges could try to start implementing something like this. I noticed on Time that UCLA started doing a free depression screening. You know, just something so simple like that. It's optional, but even if you think you might need it, you know, it's a good thing that colleges maybe could start implementing. They had the first year they did it, they had 2,700 people do it, and they got 250 people the help they needed, which is huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a good thing because it's confidential. You know, it's not like, I know some people might be intimidated or scared to tell somebody their problems, and understandably so. But you know, if you fill it out online, nobody knows who you are, and it can start something.
Yeah. And especially for college students, and even your first year of being in college, there's so many possibilities to become overwhelmed and stressed with your new environment, being away from home, living with someone for the first time. Some people have never lived in the same room as someone, let alone someone they never even knew before. Balancing work, a new job, and school, picking your new courses, and just being in a new. I know when I came here, it was a huge school, and I the first week or second week, I was not having it, and now looking back on it, I'm like, wow, I was in that place before, and some people don't know how to handle that, and it's really important that for all the freshman students to realize that, one, they're not alone, and that two, it will get better, and there are ways to help with those stress and anxiety levels that they have.
Definitely, yeah. I know that, like, coming here, it was, like, I couldn't imagine coming here and, like, not having the support of my family and stuff, because I called them so many times, like, upset or just, like, overwhelmed with the change. And, like, there's a lot of students who don't have that. And so I can't even imagine, like, I felt like it was hard. So then there's so many more students that probably feel like it was way harder because they didn't have that aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there was, like, just even being, just, like, the feeling, I feel like there's, like, a big issue with, like, feeling like you're alone, where, like, you are so stressed and you're the only one who's experiencing that, and especially at the age that we're at. Like, in a lot of my classes, I've learned about how, like, our brains have kind of changed, like, over this time, as it's very, like, influential, and when we're kind of just, like, solidifying, like, all the, like, biological changes in our brain. And a lot of times you don't know how, like, when you have those huge changes, you don't know how to deal with them. Right. And there's, like, and then you feel like you're the only one, and feeling of exclusion, which is totally not true, because everyone else here on this campus is also dealing with them.
Right.
But, oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that's, like, a huge issue, and that can kind of cause and lead to a lot of other issues as well.
Definitely. And I think I'll speak from personal experience, and I'm sure you guys can too. Everyone always says, like, the golden rule, you should be studying 3 hours for every credit hour you have. And I worked out a little bit of math, and for an average student, say you're taking 17 credits, and do the math, no one's going to do homework on a Friday night. Everyone wants to relax. Everyone's tired from their week. Saturday, you could throw it out too, unless you have an exam on Monday. Like, let's be real. And if you factor in like work and other class projects, because classes just aren't about homework. It's projects. It's everything. It could, it could come out to be 10 plus hours of work a weeknight. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm done at 3:30 with class, and that would mean I'd be up till 2 a.m. every day doing homework. Like, that's not counting breaks. That's not counting meals. It could be a lot. It's taxing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that, like, it kind of, you bringing that up reminded me of my professor, like, last week. He was telling us, he gave a breakdown similar to that about how, like, with including, like, work, school, sleep, and stuff, you technically have, like, 72 free hours a week of, like, free time. And that, like, I know that a lot of those hours, like, for me personally, I have, like, an hour or a 45-minute break in between my classes. That's not, like, that's considered free time, but that's not enough time to actually sit down and really learn anything or really get into studying.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then, like, when you get up and you have it, let's say you have an 8 a.m., like, my Tuesdays, Thursdays are from 8 a.m. to 9 every Tuesday, Thursday. There's no way that I want to come home at 9 o'clock and try to, like, do more work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, it's just...
Definitely. And also, the human brain just can't contain that much information in one day. It's just not.
It's not healthy.
no.
Not healthy, and it's not possible. And this could go into another topic of the abuse of drugs and Adderall that college students have been taking. It could be possible for them to be able to do all of those work and all of those hours by using a drug that they're not supposed to be using, which also could make them depressed and have anxiety, which all factors into the college students having anxiety and depression.
We're going to have to set this up for tomorrow here shortly, so
Oh, okay.
right now I'm just stealing a couple tables.
No worries.
So, with that said, there are many did you just say he's going to take the phone?
Oh, is he just taking them or is he...
Are you just taking a few out?
I'm just taking a couple out, but we're going to be over here in probably 5 minutes to have to set this up for tomorrow.
In here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys had it till 9:30 and it's 10 and 10 now.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, no worries. Well, good thing we only got 12 minutes in.